Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Tonight, let's go for a walk. You know, tonight, I wanted to bring something of value to you. Something that might be able to impact you in some sort of way. To bring you something delicious and nutritious. And I recognize that in order for me to do such that, for me to accomplish such a goal, I have to get uncomfortable and have to break through some layers. And I gotta stretch emotionally, psychologically, mentally. And I have to get to something that strikes through the core of my entire being, of my essence, of what it is to be a young man. Living a life as a creature on planet Earth. And so being a person, such as myself, there's the good, which we all love. There's the bad, which some of us love. And there's the ugly, which some of us learn to have compassion for. And as I go about my days, I'll experience all of these sorts of things. And the common theme in my life is that I strive for the good. To be a good man. To be the best that I can be. Not to be better than my fellow man, but to bring to the table the very best that I can, and to put my best foot forward at every opportunity. Something that experience has taught me is that to bring your best foot forward as a man isn't as straightforward as you might think it is. That the world will ask a lot of you. And it'll put you in different situations. And that you'll come out with a wide variety of various selves that you'll find within your experience of being you and all that you're capable of. And so I ask myself here, what is a good man to you? What is being a better man look like in your life? I'd say being a good man and being a better man revolves around a few points that I can see here in this moment. I value clear communication. I value other traits such as determination, endurance, grit, the ability to do hard, arduous things. And the sort of attitude that you bring to it. I think that my idea of a good man, not that this is the only way to be a good man, but I find that what I would call a good man, what I admire, a trait that I admire, maybe a skill charcuterie board of traits that's in my good man column would be that the attitude that they bring to hardship and difficult tasks is one where they will meet the challenge head on. that they lack a pouting about what they have to do. And instead, they meet it like a crazy person would. Oh yeah? Oh yeah? Fucking challenge? Give me that shit! Get over here! You know? I admire that quality. I tend to gravitate towards others who embody such a message, that kind of energy. Moreover, a good man. I strive to be a better man. I strive to be the best that I can be in any situation. What life has taught me is, what life has shown me, is that what the best you have to offer are a plethora of different aspects of your personality. You mentioned the good, the bad, and the ugly. So, before we get into the bad and the ugly, what was the good part of your day today? Okay. The good part of my day was that I got to recognize I got to recognize habits of mine, particular paths of behavior that I will have a tendency to take my day within. The bad part was I got to see various habits and tendencies in which I got to take my day down. And the ugly was that I got to second guess.
How are you? Hi.
Nervous. Every single part. Of the ways that I move about in the world. I have found that the things that I love doing I don't hate them. But I have found that they are shields in which I will invest time, effort, and energy into to round out my insecurities. Oh, I'm insecure as a person, so I'll stand up straighter and I'll flex when I'm around people. And I'll bodybuild. And I'll spend all my time doing various things to garner a sort of aesthetic. Hey, how about we forget the good, the bad, and the ugly, and we just go off the TOP. Top of the dome. Top of the dome piece. Alright. We're gonna forget the good, the bad, and the ugly. Forget that whole bullet point, PowerPoint, chronological order thing, and we're just gonna go into it as it sequences. I'll tell you about my day. I started it off, I don't know how many hours ago, 11:30 p.m. last night, pulled out an 11-mile walk. It is 8:30, it's 9 p.m. the next night, and I'm about to do the same sort of 11-mile route. And in between then and now, I went to Costco, where they keep the costs low, got some gas flow, went and got a whole bunch of vegetables and healthy proteins and seeds, fruits. The most unhealthy thing in my cart was a pack of protein bars, Quest bars, to be precise, because I'm quite fond of the texture and various flavors of those. But that's neither here nor there. But I thought, someone out there might be interested in, what's a part of my day, what's a part of my taste, what have you. What am I interested in right now? What am I consuming? You didn't tell us anything else. Freaking. Okay, fine. Frozen zucchini, squash, broccoli, red bell pepper, carton of egg whites, 2 packs of organic bananas, which I only found out were organic as I was paying for them at the checkout, and they were like $1 more per bundle, and I didn't want that. But I ate the cost because what I'm gonna do? Just walk back? Come on! Everyone's heard the analogy about Bill Gates. What happens if he just had a hole in his pocket and all these $100 bills was falling out, you know? The time it would take him to go back and pick up the $100 bills, he would have lost money in the time that he went to go pick up the $100 bills, I'm telling you. His time... Okay, you get it. Organic bananas, 2 bundles of those. Power blend lettuce, we'll say. I don't know what's in it, but that's what it said. Power blend. Romaine lettuce. Frozen strawberries. And Greek yogurt and cottage cheese. Okay? That was the haul for today at Costco, where they keep the cost low. Did that. Did some heavy bench press. I got a freaking PR today. 255, son. I recorded a little video. That's my 1 rep max. I've probably got a little bit more in the tank. I don't know. I feel as though I can probably push like 270, 275, but I'm training for life. I'm not training for that number. Although that would be cool, and I definitely see that in my future, reaching that very soon. I'm not trying to push things. I felt a little hitch. I felt a little hitch in my shoulder. Just the tiniest iota of kind of happening as I went for my 3rd kind of just 1 rep max set just with that weight. And I was like, you know what? And, and I unracked it. I held it there for a second. Then I was like, you know what? I don't want to tear anything here or provoke another injury. Let's just put this back. So I did some heavy chest on the bench press. I don't know. It was probably like 12 sets total if I'm going to include the working sets plus just messing around with some 1 rep maxes and then switching over to the incline and doing the 60-pound dumbbells on the incline. And yeah, I was enjoying that. I did calves today as well. Seated, standing. I'm trying to build my legs too, keep myself balanced and proportional. And dips. I did a few sets of dips. So that was the cardio / muscle building routine and for yesterday. And what can I say? I like doing that. I love the process of doing that. I'm transitioning from being a weightlifter, someone who goes through the motions of just, fucking do. I just pumped out 15, to caring less about the number and more about the mind-muscle connection, the present moment. What does it feel like? Come on, you know what I'm saying? Yes, my whole approach to it, my technique going into it, and transitioning from weightlifter, motion participant, motion participation trophy, ribbon garnerer, to bodybuilder. Hypertrophy training. getting the most range of motion, most time under tension, slow eccentrics, slow concentrics. You get the point. You get the point. Doing that, and it brings me a peace of mind. It brings me tranquility and happiness. Just a blissful serenity. Just a pleasure and just gratitude for life and space and just a small torch of joy. You know? Whether that's just for myself in that moment, just who cares? You know, it's this arbitrary thing. I pick things up and put them down. And whatever. But truly, when I am within it, it's like, I love this. I love how this feels. This is amazing. Wow. And then there's also the coolness of, well, here's where some bad and some ugly comes in. Because although it is good, or I wouldn't even say good, I would say although it's cool that I'll build muscle and that changes how my body looks. You know, what's really cool is the strength difference, the mental and psychological difference, how I feel, how I can just do things. Before doing them, I'll feel as though I can do it. I feel like, oh yeah, let me see if I can do this, and let's see how easy or hard this thing is. Or simply just having the confidence to subject myself to failure, to give an effort and to try despite failure being on the table. Real life situations where strength has been a requirement and just the ability to have real life translatable strength. Like, I can generate these many joules, this many newtons, this many pounds of force or pressure or whatever for this duration of time. This is the spike, this is the arc, you know, etc., etc. That's been cool. I enjoy that thoroughly. It has been so useful to me to just be stronger in general. The bad and the ugly part of that is, dude, here's where I get raw. Here's where I get vulnerable. And here's where I snitch on myself. And I tell an uncomfortable truth. Why would you do that? Because I feel like, at some level, it's nice to know that we're not alone in our ways of thinking, okay? So I'm about 140 pounds. I'm lean enough to see my abs. I'm built like a Dorito with the boulder shoulders and the mountainous traps and the freaking 44 Magnum biceps and the gorilla forearms, and you know, it's crazy. You know, sometimes I'll look in the mirror and I'll see that and I'll be thinking, damn, I'm fucking huge. Holy shit. And then in the same day, it's like I have this body dysmorphia. Like, is it gonna go away? Is it away yet? I ate. I don't track my calories necessarily. I don't know. I eat a lot of the same things every day, so it's kind of easier to keep on some kind of checklist. So if I have an extra salad that day, or, maybe a few more slices of banana than the next day, or, a slice of homemade sourdough bread with whatever on it, I'll be thinking to myself, is this the thing that's gonna take me over the edge and put me below from where I started before? The bad and the ugly part is there is this atrocious mental, psychological, just screaming, just a tantrumous 4-year-old child inside of me that's like, but no. He has sensory issues or something like that. Tactile issues. Not the extra piece of bread. Not the freaking OCD. Name a mental illness and he's got it. He's looking in the mirror. Oh, is it? Oh, dude, I'm getting fat. I'm small. I'm small, and I'm fat, and I'm ugly. What the? And it is wild how it doesn't have to even be 24 hours. And in the matter of hours, I can look in the mirror with whatever lighting there's there, and I'm like, damn, holy shit. Dude, damn, you look nice. Holy, bad bitch. Look good in some nice pants. Right? That hours later, all of that other stuff. That's like the bad and the ugly part. And that's what I wanted to... Dude, that's the fizzy soda I wanted to pop open and just let go flat. And whether I had to say it for whatever reason, I just had to let that off. I had to let that off for me. And hopefully, dude, I already know there's people out there that I'm not alone. I'm not alone in that. I just find it so wild because even though I recognize, I don't want to toot my own horn. I don't want to be braggadocious but I don't want to, faking humble is a corny way to be arrogant, said John Bellion. I recognize that I've put a lot of work in for many years now. And I've built something I'm pretty happy with. And that, even at this point, it's like the bridge that needs to be gapped from what is enough and what isn't enough is completely mental. It's completely fucking mental. Because I have this lean Calvin Klein underwear model bod, and I still will feel insecure about 30 to 40% of the time. Okay, so that's phase 1. Phase 2 is simply this kind of mindfulness practicing that I have been dabbling with. You know, there are ideas and concepts, philosophies and whatnot. And what these are in my life, they're like toys. They have certain, you know, each of these sorts of things limits your life in such a way that if you were to, you know, imagine a tennis game. Imagine two people playing a tennis match with no lines on the ground. Like, that is your life without ideas and concepts and all these other things. You know, the ideas, the concepts, the this is, the that's, the philosophies, X, Y, and Z. These are all sorts of flags and lines and markers and limitations, constraints that will shape your experience, shape your life for that period of time in which you are being mindful of these landmarks, you know, X, Y, Z, so on and so forth. And so today I listened in on the Wheel of Becoming. Which is a symbol in the realm of the Buddha, where he explains 6 realms of the mind's experience of taking in life. And I sort of went through my day today, and how can I provide you something insightful? How can I provide you something of value? What can I bring to you that is something of value? I can bring to you my experience of this. Okay, so the most fascinating thing that I got to witness for a period of time today was that I got to experience negative, unpreferable emotions today. But I didn't just get to experience them and just hold on to the suffering of that, and to really just be blasted directly with all those sorts of UV rays and harmful toxins and red 40 dyes and seed oils and... No, you know what it felt like was that I recognized that I had these various sorts of feelings riding around inside of my body. Oh wow, I'm insecure right now. Oh wow, I'm fearful right now. Oh wow, I'm uncomfortable right now. Oh wow, here's discomfort. Oh wow, here's shame. Oh wow, here's, whatever. And, what it felt like was that I had this sort of feeling inside of me, and simultaneously it felt as though I was split in some kind of way, as though I had a child in me who was feeling these things, and I was the sort of guardian looking after this child who was feeling in this way. And a lot of what happened in my experience was usually just it was an embracing. It was an embracing of these feelings. What I found will happen on the huge, unfortunately. I'm in a chapter of my life where this is the huge, or I'm in a pattern currently of this is the huge, but every so often I'll break through, I'll hit the prime number and whatnot. And the huge is that I'll feel these various unpreferable ways and I'll push them away. I don't want to feel that. Blech. I'm not that. I don't want to be seen as that. I don't want to shape myself in the image of that. I don't want to be that. No. Nope. It's Chuck Testa. But today, there was compassion. There was embracing towards these various unpreferred sorts of feelings of life, in life. And what I noticed was when I embraced what it was like to be fearful and to, kind of move within the guiding principles and the bumpers down the bowling lane of what it is to be fearful or to be insecure, I ended up kind of enjoying it. I compare it to being within the barrel of the wave. You got to be so just subtle, so delicate, kind of unmoving in a way, and just you're in the barrel. And so that was something that was a cool sort of experiencing of life in all these sorts of various ways. And I find if there was anything really worth taking away from any of this so far, anything to be remembered, I think it would be that kind of principle that I just went over. That When you start at step 1, be mindful of your emotions and of the present moment, and not for what you want them to be, but for what they currently are. What stage they're currently at, and they'll change, and they'll change pretty fast and consistently. Depending on the environment. I'd say start with a mindfulness of your inner dimension and sensations, and I'd say lean into them. I wouldn't say exaggerate them. I wouldn't say make it satirical. Emphasize them. Put them in parentheses and underline and bold them, but I'd say be mindful and pay close attention to them. And you might just find a way of life within them that you can begin to enjoy. As opposed to wanting to do away with them. And after all that stuff happened, I started drawing some pictures and doodling, and this is kind of where a lot of exhaustion came, physical and mental exhaustion. And I was still up, but I was turning into a zombie right before my very eyes. I eventually took a little nap. It felt like 5 or 6 hours. 4 or 5 hours it felt like. Check. Ugh. It's only 2 hours. And time from this point on, it shifted on me. Usually time is moving pretty fast. I look up and bam, 4 hours just flew by. Next thing I know, I feel like I'm somewhere for 3 hours. I look up, oh, it's only 40 minutes? Whoa. Oh, wow, okay. All right. Cool. Great. And it was at this point in the day where I'm tempted to say it was part of the bad. If we're going back to the good, the bad, and the ugly. The bad part for me is that sometimes I'll fly into this sort of fog. And in this fog, I'm sort of depleted of energy, but still there and just kind of existing, no efficiency to anything, no productivity of any kind, or very little, if that, and just sort of consuming at a plethora of different levels in a variety of realms. And usually my trick to get out of that is to turn off whatever it is that I have plugged in at the moment. Am I, looking at my screen too much right now, and I'm just mindlessly scrolling for things? Am I thinking about buying another pair of pants? Or make my 13th trip to the kitchen to get some more frozen banana, and then pop open the cabinet to get a little piece of chocolate? Another long YouTube video where I get to take in somebody else's ideas. Sometimes that's all good and well. Time and place. Other times it's drowning out the voice in my own consciousness. Because here's the thing. For as good and well that listening to the serenity that was David Nichtern on Spotify Premium's audiobook section of the Buddha and the Wheel of Becoming, it introduced principles to me that also had bad aspects. This is a little funky to say, right? I mean, in a way, I'm kind of saying, like, God damn it, I didn't want to know that. And now I know that. What the hell? So, someone had a defined characterization of me in all my negative aspects. And it's like, damn, the shoe fit. Damn, son, where'd you find this? I didn't need to know. There's another part of me that says, well, it totally is good to know. It can be a sign to you. It could be a symbol or a syllogism, a signal to you that if you recognize that those patterns within yourself, that's you, and then blah-blah-blah-blah-blah. I say halt, Walter. Stop. Get some help. Okay? Don't be over there yucking my yum. Alright? Don't be over there yucking my yum. Freaking making a world of what I've got going on over here. And then feeding me that like this is some kind of human centipede, right? You get to eat the thing, and then you... You defecate it out, and then I get to process that? Come on. Bro, what are you talking about? Dude, you got so vague there. I need you to go specific for me, please. Help me see whatever that was. Okay. So in the Wheel of Becoming, there is something called... In the realms, there is something like the Hungry Ghost realm. And in the Hungry Ghost realm, it's about gluttony. It's about doing all these habitual things to garner good karma and good experiences and good feelings. And in the midst of that, you feel nothing. You know, you do all these things to bring about goodness, and it falls flat on itself. And you stick to rituals and habits and doing all these various things to bring about the good, but it's not working for them. And they are depicted being these ghouls with big bellies and small mouths, constantly consuming and yet never satisfied. And I was... And you know what? I didn't like it. I didn't like what it had to do. I didn't like how it messed with the things that I was enjoying. So... So whatever, no. I eventually had to double down. I had to double down, triple down. On these values and principles and discipline and you know, I had to clear off the table of ideas and just like I had to go back to the source. You know, I had to get rid of everything that I was consuming to figure out what it is that's being produced from within me. I had to get to an essential kernel of what is the goddamn truth. So my days will go through this sort of fog every day. Every day there will be a fog that I will encounter. And that whole Wheel of Becoming, that's like the quintessential truth. The entire everything of it. That's like the truest of the true as far as human experience goes. You sort of transfer through. You've got the realm of the gods. In the realm of the gods there is bliss and happiness all and everywhere. Goodness for Goodness sake, it is good. All is good. Then there's the realm of the jealous gods, paranoid and competitive and looking over your shoulder. This guy, friend or foe? Competition or enemy? Who is it? This person in my way of whatever my objective is. And there's the human realm where you feel good and you feel bad and you feel curious and you feel balance or whatnot. Realm of the hungry ghosts and ghouls. You know, just consumption, never enough, never satisfied, just constantly taking in, and it's just never enough, never ever. No matter what you're taking in, you're just not filling that sand trap. And then there's the hell realm. It's just all bad. All bad. There's pain and there's suffering. They go into there being hot hells and cold hells. Hot hells being those of fury, and cold hells, those being of silence and mistrust, so on. The Wheel of Becoming talks about the passions being represented by 3 animals, being the pig, the snake, and the rooster. And the rooster represents a sort of confidence, a sort of bravado, a sort of, chest out, eyes up, back straight, sort of forwardness. The passions. And these represent your behaviors, your karma in their lingo, their terminology, your behavior. So that's the rooster. And then there's the snake, which is aggressive and sort of avoidant, to turn away from, to ignore, or to turn away from. And then the pig is like ignorance. And so all of your behaviors are some, 1, 2, or more of all of these sorts of passions. Yeah, I think that's all I took away from the Wheel of Becoming. Today, at least. And so, in this moment, I wonder to, I go through the same sort of thing. Like, I wonder to myself, is this good enough? Is this enough? And though at times I feel like, oh yeah, that was definitely enough, or that definitely scratched the itch that a huge pattern in my life is that I can totally make something great, and I can totally resonate with that, and I can feel this sort of thing that I can be more or less proud of or happy with at some point. And then I also recognize that, realm of hungry ghouls, I look in the mirror and I'm like, damn, that's a big belly. This kind of never enoughness. And so, right here in this moment, I'm gonna use my suffering to as the doorway and window to transcend that sort of wet concrete that I stepped in and ruined my new J's. God damn it, my new J's, man. He just stepped on my shoes, man. And I'm gonna give myself grace and compassion. I can walk the earth and constantly, change to be this perfect person. But but I am enough. That I am perfectly imperfect as I am already, no transformation necessary. This perfect person doesn't exist in some future moment. It's arrogant to go out and say, I'm perfect. And I can't even say that with and believe it. I could say it like an actor, like Kanye, how he said in one of his songs, just say it out loud just to see how it feels. Today I thought about killing you. I contemplated. Just say it out loud just to see how it feels. I can't. That goes against my true feelings. I feel like in that moment I would be disrespecting a part of myself, whether that be what I value or a boundary I've put up. I'd be crossing a line with myself, and I just don't see the point in arbitrarily doing things just to do them. So, I am enough. I've done enough. I know I've put the work in. I know that I put forth effort. And that I gave it the good old college try. And that some things in life are like Chinese finger traps. And the more you go into it one way, the tighter it becomes. And that sometimes to get what you want, you gotta do something counterintuitive. And so what is this final little thing? What is the message inside of the PS of the letter? That you got to be okay with letting go. You have to be okay with change and things being impermanent, and you got to be okay with miscommunications and misunderstandings happening, and you have to be okay with that you love yourself and you hate yourself, and maybe you don't hate yourself, but maybe you dislike part of yourself. And just like you have to be okay with the impermanence of things and change and other people misinterpreting whatever it is that you've made or are making or are a part of in some kind of way. That there comes a point where things just aren't up to you. And that you can make something, but ultimately, after it gets sent out, that's, what is made of whatever you made, that's not up to you anymore. And so you can spend all the time in the world and all the effort in the world, endless, just an overspill of it all, and there's never a point. You're always at the halfway point, forever at the halfway point, because you can never spend enough time on something that doesn't get finished. And so, PSS, know when to stop. Know that there's a time and a place for all modes of being in the universe. There's a time for being tired. There's a time for being engaged. There's a time for being stressed. And there's a time to be happy. There's a time to be joking and a time to be sincere. There's a time to play and there's a time to fear. A time to be anxious. A time to be confident. And all of the ways that you can behave and feel and emote and express. There's a time and a place for all of this. And so, as a final message, I just say, do the work, and when you're finished, step back.